So this is a live test of the pet ice tank battle build. This is being done at the request of people on the forum just to kind of see how it would look if you put it all together in application. This is Book of the Black alert. This is the regular. We're not going to get too into the woods of He-Man shit today. We're just coming here so we can test out what's going on inside of relatively relevant content with the ability to see how our snow devils are behaving and other things like that. We're going to fast forward through a couple of sections because, to be frank, we're more concerned about how it performs against bosses than we are about how it performs against ads. We're not going to worry about that section quite as much. This is a might-based battle tank. She is wearing DPS gear, so if you are using tank gear, anticipate that your damage output may not be quite as high, but your damage intake is also summarily going to be lower. You will be more durable as a result of that. Aside from that, she does have 600k plus might. I believe this character has around 700 skill points, so she's got a full stack of might and a bunch of other fun things. So she's endgame, firmly endgame, not kind of or tentatively. Now the artifacts that we have equipped are going to be the Godwave shard, the Mercy protocol, the Grimorium Verum, the Red Tornado redistribution module, and the transformation card that we were using for the sparring target test earlier. And as you can see, she's going through the ads pretty quickly here, and that's not just because I fast forward this part of the trip. She's just capable of ripping through them because the build in question does provide a lot of damage. You have the pets out there constantly. She's constantly using the Mercy protocol to cause the robot to come out with a spicier attack, but also to provide that power interaction which keeps Frost Blast cracking out at its high interval damage as opposed to its regular damage, which is good. We want it doing that. 1.2 million versus 1 million is a real difference. And we're just going along here, coming down the ramp, killing all these little guys. I'm also going to walk you through most of what needs to happen inside of the alert itself, just in case this is your first time seeing it. Hypothetically, that's not the case. You're all here on the forum, but you never know who's going to be watching the video later. So you start off the alert, you come down the ramp here, you kill all these guys, you keep killing these guys, and then we go talk to Larfleeze, who is some sort of angry orange space weasel with a power ring driven by the unfettered emotion of raw avarice. Pure greed. This section, we're going to go ahead and kill some of these guys. Lots of little fighting in here. Thought this was sped up, and apparently I'm mistaken on that one. We're not going to worry about it right now, but this section, your job is fetch the treasure boxes, take the treasure boxes back over here, well, the safes, I guess, and kill the ads, do that over and over again. And as you can see, she's still tearing through these guys pretty easily by herself, and that's partially due to her might single target output, but the pets really kind of spread the love around, and I mean that in a very literal sense. I mean, they're not just, they're not just making sure that everybody feels included. They're literally attacking things that you're not aiming at while you're attacking the things that you are aiming at, thereby causing them to become weaker while you are focused on your main target. When you have two moves inside of your output, like your ability set alone, that can both do in excess of 1 million damage when they crit, it results in a very fast turnaround time for killing the ads. And as we can see, we're in fast forward mode now, and it's really not that much different than it was a second ago, which is both amusing and, to be frank, gratifying, because this is what we were aiming for by this test. Now, I can't see the little numbers on the screen quite as well as you guys can, but I know that we've got some decent ones coming up in our 10-second parses here, just from my recollection of having run it earlier. This is not out of line with the expectations of the actual test that we were doing on the sparring targets. I believe our average there came out to a curated 470 a second, and that was largely without using too much in the way of supercharges or anything like that. That build really isn't dependent upon supercharge because there's not really much supercharge regen built into that loadout. It is mostly focused on the pet performance and mostly focused on the crits with the transformation card, and then of course the additional precision, might, and raw health bonus from having the red tornado distribution module and have that constant stream of regeneration. Alright, now we're moving into our first fight. This is Glomulus, Avaricious Glomulus. He is greedy and also functionally imaginary since he's just a construct of light, but for some odd reason Larfleeze keeps him around, probably because he's a good 50-50 point on the slider between absolutely horrifying and completely comic relief. Like, it's fun to laugh at, but if something like that came down a hallway at you, you would instantly be terrified. You'd be shitting yourself, especially since it seems to be very hungry, and it considers you to be lower on its food chain than it is on yours. So, terrifying shit. But yeah, as you can see, in this fight we're mostly focusing on the combination of might attacks and then the application of pets. We just want to make sure that we keep that Mercy moving along constantly. Anytime you have an opportunity to use the Mercy, switch down to your second bar, go ahead and throw the Godwave shard out there, and yeah, pop that Neovenom boost, do a little bit of extra damage. Kind of hasty there because it looks like this particular fight is over, but hey, I was trying, I was thinking. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, damn it. And we'll fly her over here, and we're on to section 2. Now this fight is really not that hard either. It's basically an extension of the earlier fight. You go from killing Glomulus to fighting this guy almost immediately, and then you go from fighting this guy to fighting the end boss almost immediately. When I said this alert is literally just 3 bosses in a row right at the very end, that's exactly what it is. The zombie abomination here is not that hard to beat. You want to take out his little guys because he does have the ability to stun you, lock you into place. You want to clear the dance floor for that. You also kind of want to make certain that you're maintaining a certain distance from him. The basic version of him here inside of the alert, he's not too bad. Once you get up into the actual elite level, that weird zombie swipe attack that he keeps doing, that will do upwards of 1 million damage to you if it connects. If he hits you with that twice in a row, you will die. And he likes using that attack twice in a row. He also has a big charge. He's not afraid of just running straight through your guys and all that good stuff. But as you can see, we're chewing him down here pretty quickly. I went ahead and summoned Lex for this fight as well. Lex is a great ally to have if you're dealing with ads, especially if you're dealing with a lot of little ads and one big boss. Lex does a great job of locking down those little guys. He causes them all to slow down, makes them basically into bigger targets than they already are, at which point conversation, you can kill them and focus your efforts on the main dude. Now, we're almost done with him. Boom. There he is. Toast him out, and then we're going to move on to the last section, which is Lysidrac and the book. And this is actually deceptively difficult to do. I've tried this on Elite a couple of times. I haven't got a clean run all the way through. She can be beaten on Elite. Obviously, If you're a Forum regular, you know that she can even be beaten on Elite Plus solo, because Death Mike did the same thing earlier this month, so 3 cheers for the returning hero. I've always been more of a bounty guy than a raids guy, but I'm trying to diversify a little bit here. My point being, this is not an easy fight. You have to maintain constant output, but you also have to make sure that you're switching your output consistently away from Alyssa Drac, because you will pretty much always end up defaulting to her. And that's okay inside of certain situations if you're using those AoE attacks, for example, or like Avalanche, Frost Blast. That's going to hit her and whoever's standing next to her, and in some cases whoever's standing next to them at the same time, so it really doesn't matter if you've got that particular attack aimed somewhere else. But for things like the Luminous Beam, for example, that's a single target attack. You really don't want to be hitting her with that while her shield is up. Go through this section, kill these guys, collect the things, boom, we've got the rune, we take the rune over here, boom, we put the rune in here. I'm going to assume that you've probably already done this by this point in the game if you're watching this at this point, because again, this is not being done to show you how to do the content, this is being done to show you what the ice tank build is like, the output levels. And I've left my combat log up there over on the side just so you can see. I do remember this being kind of a meaty output zone, which I was happy about, especially when her shield is down. It's a little lackluster in the middle, but that's a different sort of situation. The biggest thing that I noticed about this build was that there's very high variance, and I'm kind of working with a DPS version of it on the side to see if there's a way to maintain the positive aspects of the output without losing the consistency, I guess. You know, and it's harder to maintain the consistency without the Candle of Neron, because this build, the 3 artifacts that I have, the pet artifacts, are all engendered to make all of the stuff that you're seeing on the screen happen. The Grimorium Verum reduces the pet, I guess, penalty. Like if you have a pet active, like a Robot Sidekick or something like that, your power regeneration has a 25% penalty. The Grimorium Verum removes that penalty, provides you with an extra damage dealer. He's usually good for about 20k a second minimum. But the other thing that it does is it's another source of power interaction application, so he does a pretty good job at that. He's very good at consistently making sure that you have that PI up. Between it and Mercy, really, if you can figure out a way to maintain your power cycling to a degree where you don't need the extra power, you probably don't need Grim. Which means you could replace him with a different artifact, like another heavy output artifact, like Candle of Neron, for example. Strategist card would be another recommendation. Or you can go the other direction if you're looking for more survivability. If you were running this in elite mode, you could take that Grim out and replace it with something like the Mystic 7 or even Lazarus Pit Water, just to make sure that you've got some survivability on the back end. Now, this fight was pretty hectic, and I think it's always pretty hectic just because of the nature of the fight itself. You know, you have the ads that continue cycling in, you have a required mechanic that you have to perform in order to get back to a DPS phase with her. And in between those two things, you have her chasing you down constantly. She's always using attacks. She's always using things that can knock you down, things that stun. You know, she uses one hand as a primary weapon style, which is really unfair if you have a shield up all the time, because it removes counter opportunities, and she uses Flurry, which is a constant interrupt. That's the other reason why you're definitely going to want empowered channeling, either if you're using complete channeled build and you've got solar ramp, fine, that'll work. If you've got empowered channeling hand mod, or in this case I have Kryptonian channeling, the Superman ally equipped, and that's how I get my empowered channeling for this particular event. It might be worthwhile to replace Superman with one of your power regen allies with this build, like Calculator or not Calculator, Cyborg or Oracle. If you're going to do that, just make sure you have the Empowered Channeling Hand mod. It is going to take your damage down by 2%, but I don't honestly know if you'd notice it, considering the fact that you'd be getting your power regen back at that point in time, which will smooth some other things out. But yeah, kill the ads, collect the rune pieces, put them in the book, take her shield down. You got to do this 3 or 4 times, and once you get to that stage of execution, she should be softening up. But yeah, this is a messy fight just all the way around. Doing this solo is rough. I did this solo on a raid, which I'll post later using my fire tank, and it just, it's a mess, and that's it. It's a non-stop mess. You have to maintain awareness of what you're doing. You have to maintain constant mitigation. You have to maintain constant movement, and you have to be able to perform the mechanic, fetch the runes, get the correct rune up to the book, get the next one, and what I started doing kind of towards the end of this fight with my ice tank here, I kill a few of the guys off, like kill a bunch of them off, then look around the battlefield and see what runes you have available. Ignore everything for a second. You've got all those pets for a reason. Let them do the heavy lifting. Collect the runes that you need, put them in the book, use your shields, just focus on that for a moment or two. And then when you run out of the runes that you have available that are useful ones, then go back to killing the guys and things like that. Overall, I think the actual end time on this was like 20 minutes, something like that. And you're going to spend 15 of that 20 minutes doing just the last 3 fights in a row. So, the first section really is just astoundingly easy for you to get through. Don't let that color your expectations of what's going on here, because when you get into the back half, each of the fights is sequentially more difficult than the fight that was before it. Glomulus isn't bad as long as you stay away from him for an extended amount of time. You don't want to let him just sit there and crunch on you, and you also want to make sure you continue moving away from his orbitals and things like that. The zombie abomination, it only has a couple of ads with it. Those are dealt with relatively easily. You'll be able to kill them pretty quickly, but because the zombie abomination does a terrifying amount of damage by itself, you will have to move constantly, pay attention to your health, stuff like that, and then you get here, and it's just a mess. So, there you go. That's what that build looks like in live combat. To be frank, not a bad time for it. This is not the first time I've done the regular alert solo, and that's pretty consistent with what I would get out of my standard battle tank build. And my standard battle tank build is good, and we're going to leave it at that. But there you go. Hopefully that provides you with a little bit of direction as to where to go with your pet builds, and the live demo should provide you with some numbers. I did have that Snow Devil equipped there just for shits and grins, so you could see a little bit more of that. Stay safe, like, subscribe, all that jive. Take care of yourself, folks.